Hi, this is Dave Bazar and Mike Finn, and in this episode we are going to spotlight the Middle East. It's our continuing spotlight series. The Middle East is a region that is pretty important to the almond industry, maybe not on par with some of the other ones, but definitely one that we make use of and has been a great trading partner of ours. So, Mike, first I wanted to try to describe what the Almond Board calls the Middle East, and I'm just going to go ahead and look at last year's crop and what got shipped and run through a quick list of the destinations that we shipped almonds to. Bahrain, Cyprus, Iraq, Israel, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and the UAE, United Arab Emirates. In importance, and I'll try to go it real quick in background, our number one destination was the UAE, followed by Turkey, followed by Saudi Arabia, and then you had Israel, followed by Jordan. So, Mike, can you give us a little spin of what they buy and maybe some of how it works there?
Yeah, usually the Middle East is more of a visually sensitive kind of market, right? So they're buying low chipped and scratched, larger kernels. They like a lighter color usually, so they like that non-prill. It's going into either just a snack type deal or into desserts. Sometimes you'll see them take some in-shell non-prill, in-shell Monterey at times, but predominantly heavily kernel-based and higher quality kernels.
And I may be just making this up like I do sometimes, but to me it seems like a more traditional market. It's not, when we talked about China, it was like, hey, this is a brand new product we're putting to them.
Yep.
I think of the Middle East as like almost the guys that went
Came
over
up
and,
with it.
and exactly grabbed it out of China.
Yeah.
Marco Polo brought it down.
Yeah.
Maybe the Spaniards were being run by them at that point and
Yeah.
sort of developed the industry there as well. So it's culturally, it's ancient for them, so it's important there.
And I think if going through some of those countries, they all kind of play a different role in kind of the overall Middle East consumption. I think if you go to Saudi Arabia, I think that anything gets shipped to Saudi Arabia it really is being probably consumed in Saudi Arabia, right? It's being roasted, it's being chocolate coated, it's being salted, so it's probably more local consumption there. I would say it's probably similar for most of those countries you listed off, other than the UAE, right? The UAE or Dubai, is more of a hub for importing and then re-exporting to other destinations.
Yeah, and I kind of think of them as a Hong Kong used to be.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
In it comes and out it goes.
Yeah. It's a hub for finance. It's a hub for trade, right? So some of these, some of the customers of our customers will be smaller guys who take 200 cartons and put it on a small little vessel and sail it across the sea and take it to small little remote destinations. I think you'd be just fascinated with where your almonds actually do end up and in what part of the world eventually.
Yeah, no. Anecdotally, I was in Dubai and you do go down to a port of some sort.
It's like
there
an inland port, like they've dug it out.
It looks like a
canal.
Exactly, but it sources into the Persian Gulf there. And yeah, there's these smaller type ships that are just being loaded with a
washer machine.
Some almonds, walnuts, a couple tires, and I assume it's just a run, just nonstop.
Yeah,
out they head.
Probably to places that we can't trade directly with.
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah.
Rip the tags off, write it in Chinese or whatever. And there's a lot of different places in the world that do that, and they serve a role for the industry.
Oh, sure they do. They're still very important. And I'm going to reference my mother, dear departed soul. She used to be fascinated when I would talk to her about we were shipping somewhere into the world, say Israel, when it was having the missile conflict going on back and forth. So all she's reading about is, holy smokes, there's missiles flying around and you're shipping there. And to me, it was just sort of a study or an example of the fact that commerce, food, eating, sure, war is there, but people are still living. And to me, the Middle East has always got something going on. It seems like a sanction, a fight, a conflict, and yet still the almonds are headed in that way to them.
And last year they were 7-8% of the total shipments, and for certain periods of the month, certain periods of the year, they kind of carried some of those position reports.
Yeah, and so when we talk about Ramadan, not that there isn't other Muslim areas of the world, but that's, there's the drive. Here it is heading into the Middle East.
Yep.
And I think, as you said, it's a large kernel, nonpareil based.
Right, Carmel type, big stuff, big Monterey's, things like that,
More often than not in a carton, too.
Almost 100%.
Yeah. And then maybe real quick to wrap this up, then Turkey, to me, is the other big user.
But I think Turkey's I think that they're also maybe somewhat like the UAE, maybe with more facility, right, where they can bring it in, they can process it, they can make a product, right, and they can maybe sell to different kind of exotic parts of the world, right, that Far Eastern Europe, maybe parts of China, right, things like that.
Yeah.
And then they also have a good domestic consumption, I would say, but I do think that they are a little bit more of like kind of, I don't want to say the fringe, right? But they're kind of reaching further into countries and destinations that, we wouldn't do business, or we couldn't speak the language, or there's not the facility to be able to do that type of business for us.
Yeah, and I think if you guys dust off your maps and take a look and see where Turkey sits, it is a sort of connection to
it's Asia and Europe.
Yeah. And so it has been, it's a little bit of a trading hub as well, right? Is that, I guess, what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm saying it's a trading hub, but then a kind of value added type of trading hub, right? So I do think that they're processing almonds. I do think that they're making blanched sliced. I think they're adding value to it rather than just saying, here's my 880 cartons, chop it in half, sell that one to this guy, sell that one to that guy.
And they're a traditional hazelnut producer. So they come from that basis,
from a
right?
Processing base.
Exactly, supplying all of Europe to that. And so almonds compete a little bit with Spain on that, I think. I mean, as far as a processor, and then they're very, very, very important. So you got anything more to add on that?
I don't.
No, I think we've covered it. So it's an important spot in the world, and it's just one of the many areas that the California almond goes to. So it's been Dave and Mike, and that's a spotlight on the Middle East.